Well, hello there, welcome back to another Pasio Tower video. Today I'm bringing Psychic Tower. Indeed, I have Hilda. I rolled for Neo Champion Hilda for the sole purpose of being able to complete Pasio Tower, Psychic Tower. And yes, indeed, if you have her, she is good enough in my opinion. I mean, obviously you do need a few other puzzle pieces. For example, I'm actually only using 3 characters this run. Usually I would cycle between 4 or even 5 characters. For example, Water Tower I use 5 characters, and for like Poison Tower I use 4 characters. But for this, I actually only use 3 characters. Now granted, I haven't done 430 yet, so I should be able to do 430, but I haven't technically done it yet, so I'll who knows, maybe I'll need to switch things up for 430. But at least for 21 to 29, we're using 3 characters. And I mean, they're all limited characters, so they're with high investment, so it is what it is, right? So to start off, a character that doesn't change throughout the run and is basically pretty consistent in terms of strategy is your Rosa. Neo Champion Rosa is an interesting unit because she is every Relic Song of Wonder she does switches her form, which is very interesting, and it gives your characters a little bit of a buff. Like, it's classic that she gives you like a physical attack up next effect and a special attack up next effect, and that makes it so that you squeeze out a little bit of extra damage when you constantly use her Relic Song of Wonder. Her Relic Song of Wonder also inflicts sleep, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It depends on what characters you have, obviously. But if you're using her with Neo Champion Hilda, you actually don't want to trigger sleep, like at all. I mean, early on in the fight, triggering sleep is good. But honestly, the sleep trigger for Relic Song of Wonder, at least with the sequencing and script I'm using, is not good. Because when you inflict sleep on your opponent, then they gain that condition resistance effect. And the condition resistance shield lasts for like a little bit, and during that time you're unable to inflict other status conditions, and this becomes a problem in certain runs, but mainly because you're using her with Neo Champion Hilda, or because I am. You really want to time that flinch from the shining sword side blade, because Hilda's shining sword side blade, which is that incredibly strong buddy move of hers, it causes 100% flinch on all the enemies. And so if they have that condition shield from, for example, your Rosa inflicting sleep earlier, then you're not going to get consistent flinching, and that might make the run not as good. So Rosa is interesting because yes, she does cause sleep, but honestly you don't really want that sleep to happen if you use her with Neo Champion Hilda. There are sequences, I'm sure, where you can take advantage of Rosa's Sing, because she does have Sing, so she can cause guaranteed sleep. And now guaranteed sleep is much better than random sporadic sleeping, because you can actually time it, and then you can time your next flinch accordingly with your Neo Champion Hilda. But that just makes Rosa a little bit of a crazy unit, because like you could be inflicting sleep at bad timings, and that could ruin your entire strategy. She also is able to confuse the enemy with her teeter dance. If you have gold viral on her teeter dance, then she's able to inflict confusion on all the enemies, which is super strong for those. I mean, she is your condition inflictor when you go on the floors in which you need conditions, because some floors you can't do damage unless you inflict condition, and Rosa is going to be your most consistent condition inflictor for confusion, at least with my run with the characters I'm using. Keep in mind though that confusion does wear off, and then after that confusion wears off, the enemy is able to gain a resistance shield. So again, the confusion, even though it's good because sometimes it can block your opponent from attacking, it's really there just to be a status condition or status change, to be more specific. And when it wears off, they gain a shield, and when they gain that shield again, you cannot flinch with your, for example, Neo Champion Hilda. And it's a problem because on floors where they can only be damaged, the enemy can only be damaged when they're under status condition, you're probably going to use confusion early on in the fight, and then that confusion wears off toward the end of the fight. And so there will be a period of time where the enemy literally takes no damage until that condition shields wear off, because that condition shield only activates after confusion has been settled. And so there will be a brief moment of time where you can't attack them or you can't do damage on them, and so you have to wait to confuse them again, and so it's really awkward. I'm not done talking about Rosa, but on the replay here you're gonna be seeing that I'm using Sygna Suit Lana. I always wondered, because I saw a bunch of replays and I didn't see anybody use Sygna Suit Lana, and I'm like, Sygna Suit Lana is still a master fair, like she's still like a super strong unit. Why isn't anyone using her? Because she has propulsion, she's able to inflict damage on all the enemies, she has decent sync move damage, so like why don't people use Lana? And then I use Lana on floor 22, and I understand why no one uses Lana. I never really understood why Sygna Suit Steven was good, because I know he's really good. For me, he's really good in damage challenge because he's able to accelerate that move gauge really well, and I knew he does a lot of damage because he's a tech and support. Like he's a tech role with EX role of support, so that's super strong. But he's able to inflict damage on all the enemies with his sync move, so that's also really strong. So he just has a lot of strong things in his kit. But after today, after doing Psychic Tower, I really understand why he's strong. But I'll talk about him later. Basically, all I'm trying to say is I use Sygna Suit Lana for this run, but Steven would have been significantly better. So just ignore the 422. I was just experimenting with Lana. She works, but I don't think she'll work any floor after 22, honestly. But going back to Rosa, another thing strong about her is that she has potion, and her potion is super potent, because her potion, you're able to make it heal a lot, you're able to make it heal status condition status changes, and also she has 2 tiles of MP refresh on her sync grid, which means using potion, you can literally, you have 1 use of potion left, and after you use it, you get 2 like refreshes of it. And so she's a great potioner because she's able to kind of refresh it a lot, and she's your main healer obviously because she's your tank, but you're definitely going to need a lot of healing with her because Hilda and Steven don't really heal themselves that well, especially attack Steven doesn't heal himself that well, and so you're definitely going to be wanting to spread that potion around. She does heal herself when she attacks enemies that are confused, which is why you want to make sure you confuse the enemy so that you can heal a lot from that. But her potion is super strong. And also her Ode to Glory, which I think is her trainer move. Her Ode to Glory is also super strong. If you decide to upgrade her past 3 out of 5 copies, at 4 out of 5 copies, Ode to Glory has propulsion, which makes it so that you can time your sync moves a lot better. You can basically use your sync moves a turn in advance, which is super strong. I'm gonna attempt 430 with her at only 3 out of 5 copies, because at 4 out of 5 copies, I mean, she definitely is better, but I want to see if I can get away with floor 30 with only 3 out of 5 Rosa, which seems to be good enough, right? But if you have her Ode to Glory with 4 out of 5 copies of propulsion, which is really good because you can time it against sync moves easier. But Ode to Glory also just raises speed, which is super important. If you're going to be using Steven and Neo Champion Hilda as your attackers, their moves are very expensive, and so having Rosa be able to increase the speed is nice. And also late in the fight, if you still have those Ode to Glories, it can increase your physical and special moves. So there you go. Ode to Glory is pretty good. So Rosa, again, it's your tank, it's your healer, it's your status condition or your status change doer, and she's pretty strong. The other 2 characters on my team that I'm mainly focusing on is Sygna Suit Steven and Neo Champion Hilda. Both those characters are really good in their own right, and then because we have 3 different kind of floors, we have, you know, floors where you can only damage the opponent with physical moves, floor where you can only damage the opponent with special moves, and floor where they have to be inflicted with a status condition or status change for you to do damage on them. You kind of have to set up your Hilda and your Steven differently. As you see throughout the run, I actually have 2 different sync grids for Steven and 2 different sync grids for Hilda. And I also have 2 different lucky skills for Steven, and only one lucky skill for Hilda. You can definitely go for like a head start or adrenaline on your Hilda if you really wanted to. I'm actually pretty low on those particular lucky cookies, fortune cookies, and so with Hilda I just have her at critical strike 2 the entire run. But if you really want to go greedy and if you have the extra cookie to spare, and if you're having troubles with those floors, I feel like, you know, you could get away with a different lucky skill on Hilda for the floors where she doesn't do damage. But let's talk about it, right? So I think 421 I can't do special damage or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but on the floors where you can't do special damage, you're going to be relying on your Hilda for most of your damage. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about Hilda and Steven kind of together. But on the physical floors, Hilda is going to be doing a lot of your damage. Keep in mind that my Hilda is at 5 out of 5 copies. Yes, I fully upgraded my Hilda because at 5 out of 5 copies, her side shock or side blade refreshes. And the thing about Hilda is that her side blade is like the strongest part about her kit, because not only does it do a ton of damage and guaranteed flinches, where have we seen this before, blue origin both. Not only does it do a ton of damage and guaranteed flinches, but it also extends whatever terrain is on board. So if you have grassy terrain, psychic terrain, or electric terrain, right, it extends that. So with Hilda, she's able to send out a psychic terrain when she uses her sync move for the first time in battle. She summons a psychic terrain, and then you can go ahead and before that psychic terrain ends, you can go ahead and use a side blade, which extends the psychic terrain duration. And then if you have her at 5 out of 5 copies, then the side blade refreshes, so you can go ahead and use that side blade again to cause another extension of that psychic terrain, while at the same time doing more damage and also flinching them again. So Hilda is incredibly strong because of that. And not only that, but her Giga Impact already does a lot of damage, and then her booster energy as well as her Glory of the Burning Light, which are 2 of her trainer moves, her main trainer move and then booster energy, those are mainly there for our run here. Those are there to accelerate the sync move gauge or sync move acceleration, because basically the thing about Rosa is you can never sync move cheese with her. Some characters you just cannot sync move cheese, and Rosa is one of those characters where, because she changes form and everything after she uses her sync move, whenever she uses Relic Song, which her sync move counts as a Relic Song. Every time she uses a Relic Song, it changes her form, and because her form changes, the enemy is able to input a move before you can input a move. So Neo Champion Rosa is a special case where you can literally never sync move cheese with that character. And because she is support acceleration, your sync move, after you use her move, and then your 2 other Pokemon will use their move, will end up at 7. And so if you're 7 minus 3 is 4, and then minus 3 is 1. However, if you can, if you can have one move that can accelerate the sync move gauge, which Rosa's trainer move does, then you can go ahead and after you attack with Rosa, you only need to use 2 rounds of move, because it's like you have 7 and then minus 3 and then minus 4 from Hilda's trainer move. Does this make sense? I hope that makes sense. For people who play Pokemon Master, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you're able to use your sync move faster. So that's why Hilda is good. You actually want to delay her trainer move because it accelerates the sync move down by 1, and you really want to use it after you sync move with Hilda. Or if you use it at the beginning, that's okay as well, because booster energy also does the same thing. Booster energy also lowers the sync move count down by 1, and so you can also take advantage of that. Not only that, but she has 2 uses of booster energy, so it can reduce the sync move count down by 2 if you use booster energy twice. And then she has a sync move tile, or sync grid tile. Hilda, she has a sync grid tile, which makes her refresh her trainer move. And so with Hilda, you're able to reduce the sync move countdown by 4 from just her trainer moves, because again, if you refresh her trainer move once, like the main one that gives her attack buff, then you're able to accelerate the sync move countdown by 4. She's also a tech, not a tech, but she's also a sprint EX role, and so you're going to be needing to sync with her anyways to summon Psychic Terrain. And so when you do that, then you can go ahead and it also accelerates the sync move countdown. So with Hilda here, she is really able to reduce the sync move countdown. And you know, it's not super important to remove the sync move countdown when Hilda is in a stage where she does damage. So basically those floors where it's like they can only be damaged by physical attacks. At that point, you probably just want to really focus on just doing damage with her. But if you're on a floor where you're using her as mainly a support character, for example, floors where physical attacks don't do damage, those floors where physical attacks don't do damage, I would still consider using Hilda. And I mean, I did in my run, because she's a great support character alongside Steven, because again, she's able to reduce the sync move countdown by a lot. You can see in my script, on special floors, on floors where they can only take special damage, I actually use Glory of the Burning Fight or Glory of the Burning Light. I actually use her trainer move twice so that I can use my sync move in like 2 turns. And then after that, I use Booster Energy so that I can use my second sync move faster. And then I go ahead and use her as a sinker so that she can summon Psychic Terrain for my Steven. And then at the end of the fight, I use her as a flincher and a Psychic Terrain extender. So even when she doesn't do damage, she's still super valuable because she summons Psychic Terrain and she can flinch. But when she does do damage, she does a ton of damage because her moves just do so much damage, you know? So she's super strong. Also, one more thing that I think is worth mentioning about Hilda, and I didn't figure this out until kind of later into my run, but her Giga Impact lowers defense by 3 stats, which is a ton of defense lowering. So with Hilda, I think the strategy is you want to lower defense on all the enemies. You don't want to lower it like, you don't want to just keep using Giga Impact on the Pokemon that has the most health. You actually want to use Giga Impact to lower the defense of all the enemies. So use it twice on the, the middle Pokemon, then try to use it once or twice on the side Pokemon, so that when you end up using your Side Blade, it does not only a ton of damage to the middle Pokemon, but it does extra damage to the side Pokemon, because early on in the fight, you already lowered their defense. Because early on in the fight, your Giga Impacts aren't going to be doing that much damage anyways, because your sync move buff isn't that high, and you don't even have Psychic Terrain up. So I might as well use Giga Impact as a way to lower defense, so that when you do use Side Blade, it does a ton of damage in the late game of the fight. So I think that's just something that I didn't notice until deeper into my run. That's something that you can do with Hilda. But she's great. Again, I recommend, if she's gonna be your damage dealer, so on floors where, they can only take physical damage, on floors where they need to be under status condition or changed to take damage, then Hilda, you definitely want, Critical Strike 2 or 3. And then for floors where she literally doesn't do damage, then, give her Head Start or something. Also, she has Head Start in her sync grid. So, again, 2 different sync grids you have with her. You have a damage sync grid, and then you have a sync grid where she is a support character, which I show in the video. Sygna Suit Steven, which again is very strong, is very similar in terms of Hilda. He's basically he actually has a similar role to Hilda, where he's able to lower the sync move countdown by a lot if you build him that way, or he can do a ton of damage if you build him that way. So again, I have 2 sync grids with him, and I have 2 lucky skills that I switch around. But let's just talk about damage. When you use him as a damage dealer, he does a ton of sync move damage. This is because he is a tech EX role. Tech EX roles usually just do a ton of damage. Not only that, but when he attacks, when he's in his attack mode, he hits everybody. So that makes him super strong. And that's basically, there's not much to talk about Steven when it comes to his attack form. He just does a ton of damage. and he also has a support EX role. And so what I found to be the best sequencing is first syncing with Hilda, and then first syncing with Rosa. I get Rosa and Hilda mixed up because they're both the Gen 5 gals, alright? What do you expect? You first sync with Rosa, so you get that support EX role, or the support sync move buff. And then you sync with Steven, because you're not really syncing Steven for damage, you're really syncing Steven second, just so you can get that sync move buff. And then after you sync with Steven, that's when you want to sync with Hilda, so that you summon your psychic terrain. Hilda sync, even when her sync is able to do damage, doesn't do that much damage, because what we want from Hilda is for her to do a bunch of normal move damage. It's one of those cases where like you really want to focus on her psychic terrain abilities, to be able to extend psychic terrain, to be able to just do a lot of damage with Giga Impact. And so it's not important for her to do a lot of sync move damage. You're only syncing with her just so you can get psychic terrain up. After you sync with her, then a lot of your damage is going to be coming from Steven's sync move, because again of his tech roll, he's able to just do a ton of damage. And then after that, you're just going to be keeping on syncing with Steven, and then using the side blade in between to extend psychic terrain and do a ton of extra damage and flinch. So Steven is pretty simple when he does damage. Again, on the floors where the opponent can only take special attack damage, or on floors where they need to be inflicted with status conditions or changes, Steven does a ton of damage. However, when you go onto floors where they can only take physical damage, then Steven still has a ton of uses. Like, he can still do a lot. If you notice, on floors where they can only take physical damage, I actually still bring Steven in, but instead of making him attack form, I make him speed form. When I make him speed form, he is able to remove the sync move countdown by a ton. Because not only do you get it when he turns into speed form, but you also reduce the sync move countdown even more when you use his double team. And so basically, I start off the battle making him speed form, and then later on in the fight, I would use double team. Probably using double team after the initial sync with Steven. And even though Steven doesn't do any damage on floors where they can't take special attack or special damage, I still sync with him anyways, just to increase that sync move buff, right? And then on those floors, sure, he might not be able to use Psycho Boost for damage, but he can still flinch with Zen Headbutt, which honestly I don't really recommend that much, because you don't really want to you don't really want to mess up your sync move timings or your side blade timings and flinch timings with that. But speed form Deoxys can just use double team, and he's just basically there to accelerate the sync move countdown. And yeah, that's basically it. He also has a synchro passive, which is able to reduce the enemy's attack and defense, which is super valuable as well. If you feel like you're having trouble like not living, you can try to use him as a debuffer on the enemy. And yes, that's basically it. I guess now is a good time to say that I leveled him up to level 190. This is the first time I'm trying this out. I might fully upgrade him to level 200 if I find myself having trouble with floor 30, which again I haven't done yet. But level 190, I haven't done this yet, but you technically don't need to upgrade characters to level 200, right? 200 is the max level, but you can always upgrade your character to like 185, 190, right? If you're low on Plaques of Perfection, you don't need to fully invest into characters. You can like half invest, you can invest some Plaques of Perfection until you really feel like you need the extra damage, and then you can go all the way, right? And just so you can conserve your Plaques of Perfections. And I'm trying it here. I'm trying to not fully upgrade Sygna Suit Steven, even though for floor 30 he is going to be doing the majority of the damage. I just want to see if I can get away with not using 20 Plaques of Perfection on him, but I will if I end up needing the extra damage, which is hard to see even though I have held that 5 out of 5 copies. So it's hard to imagine I would need the extra damage, but it is what it is. With Steven as well, one more thing I need to mention with him, which I kind of already mentioned, but is I have two separate sync grids for him. Again, one sync grid is I'm trying to really maximize his sync move damage, and the other sync grid is mainly there for him as like a support character. Not only that, but 2 lucky skills, I mentioned this, but if he's doing damage, then you probably just want to have critical strike 3 or 2. You know, if you're lucky, you can get critical strike 3, but I don't think I have a single relevant character with critical strike 3. Even though I've done tower content for all this time, I still don't have a single relevant character with critical strike 3. So critical strike 3 comes from Pasio Tower rewards, because if you get lucky, you get specific cookies for specific characters, and those cookies have a 33% chance of getting critical strike 3 on, I believe, tech units and striker units. So if you have that, great. If you don't, critical strike 2 is still fine. But of course, if Steven cannot do damage, if you're on floors where only physical attacks do damage, then head start. I actually already had head start on my Steven because I use him for damage challenge. So if you have like a head start, or even adrenaline works as well with Steven, that'll always be good as well. I think even if you have like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 Steven, he actually has head start on a sync grid. So I would consider selecting that tile if you have a higher investment of Steven. All in all, I think that's kind of it. You know, toward the end, I think for 28 or something, you know, flame proof lucky skill on Rosa so that she can't get burned. You know, stuff like that, just general stuff. If you're having troubles with certain floors, you don't really need vigilance on Rosa. Even though most of the times I use vigilance on Rosa for consistency, you don't actually need vigilance on her. You can try to use, you know, certain guards so that you can reduce certain types of damage, or you can have flame proof or like stats immunity, interference immunity, stuff like that. And that's basically it. There's more stuff I want to talk about when it comes to Pasio Tower, because completing floor 28, I believe, was my 400th clear of Pasio Tower. But I'll talk about that probably in another video about my progress through Pasio Tower, because I don't think I should talk about it in this video because I'm talking about Psychic Tower. So we'll leave it at that. I'll probably talk more about my progress through this content later. But all in all, Psychic Tower has been pretty easy. Again, Rosa at 5 out of 5 copies is just... Not Rosa, I'm sorry. I keep getting them mixed up. Hilda at 5 out of 5 copies is just incredibly insane. And Steven is super good. And Rosa has always been one of my favorite support characters because of Relic Song of Wonder. Relic Song of Wonder is just so fun to use. Anyways, I'm yapping. Thank you for watching, you beautiful the way you are. Next video, I'm gonna be attempting Psychic Tower 30. I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna complete it, but I'll attempt it for a little bit. And yeah, so enjoy the rest of the video. I'm gonna stop talking, but increase the in-game volume so that you guys can hear that more clearly.
Prepare yourselves! Now, travel!
Time! On it! Go!
Have this! on then. Right, here we go.
Everyone,
Change.
showtime!
Now.
On it!